Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys 10 tips to help you guys get better at attacking in Rainbow Six Siege. I usually play at around Plat 2, Plat 3 elo. I'm slowly creeping my way up to Platinum 1, so hopefully these tips are going to help you improve if you are stuck in Platinum or below, and they help you crawl that little bit more closer to Diamond or the Champion rank or whatever rank that you are shooting to hit this season. Before the video goes on, I would really appreciate it if you guys like the video, if you think that you're going to enjoy any of these tips, or if you want to see more tip videos from me, because I'm trying to build up a new Siege audience, because I'm pivoting away from Warframe. It would be heavily appreciated, as the likes on the video would help out a lot. So I would really appreciate it if you guys left a like. If not, it's totally fine. You can wait till the end to make your decision. Totally up to you. I don't mind, but if you're considering it, thank you. If you end up liking it, thank you even more. But without further ado, let's move on with the tips. Tip number 1 is a pretty obvious tip, and it's just to drone more. You would be surprised the amount of people that I see in like Plat 2 elo who literally just don't drone. Like, they are all aim, no brain, Ash means, and they just run in. They'll maybe get 2 frags, and then that'll be it. That'll be their contribution to the round. But the thing is, like, they would have been a more valuable player had they have droned and had they have used their utility, their Ash breaching charge, to destroy, let's say, for example, a Maestro camera or something like that. So droning not only to spot, enemy players, but also to spot like enemy equipment and other areas that you can be useful as your operator, that is going to make the difference between a good player and a bad player, right? Because if you're the Ash main who just runs in and gets the 2 kills and dies, sure, you got 2 kills and your team should be able to work with that, but your chances of winning increase the less utility the enemy team has, and you could probably have got those 2 kills given your skill level if you had just droned out those enemies and droned out the enemy equipment. And the opportunities that you could have also spotted, like, playing vertically or opening up a soft wall that maybe the enemies didn't reinforce or something like that, if you had to just use your drone before running in, getting those 2 kills, and then dying to whatever trap or whatever enemy sitting in a corner or something along those lines. Tip number 2 is another really obvious tip, but it's to communicate effectively with your team. Even if you're solo queuing, the thing is, like, there is so many players who are in high elo who don't know callouts, or they use callouts like over there, right? Newsflash, guys, literally at the bottom of your screen, the name of the room that you're in is there. You just have to like look down at it and say it. And even if you don't know the specific call out for the room that an enemy happens to be in, you can say that he is near or roaming around whatever room that you're in if you happen to be close. Like, even if you put your drone into the room that the enemy is in, you can get a glimpse of what the name of that room is. And that is going to allow you to communicate more effectively with your team, rather than just saying that he's over there or he's to the left or something like that, because those are the types of callouts that frustrate me so much whenever I'm playing with my friends. They're like, he's over there, he's to the left. I'm like, okay, but where is he? He could be, playing vertically upstairs, he could be playing downstairs, he could be in meeting or something like that. Like, just over there isn't an effective call out, and chances are if there's nobody playing near you in your team, they're not going to know what the hell you're talking about, because there's just so many angles in Siege that you can be shot from. So learn the call outs for all the maps and then communicate more effectively with your team. Tip number 3 is probably going to separate the boys from the men. Now, this tip is to actually play the role or do the job, right? Every single operator that you choose or can choose on attack has a role. If you're the type of player who thinks that they're going to pick up Sledge, pick up Buck, pick up Ash, or something along those lines, and you just think that you're going to run in and your main goal is the frag, it's everybody's job to get kills in your team. That goes without saying. But the thing is, like, every single operator has utility. So if you're playing Ash, your job is to destroy like enemy utility that is out of reach, and maybe also like burn Jaeger charges with your flashbangs, right? So you can run flashbangs, and then let's say you use these flashbangs to burn the ADS. You could then use your breaching round as your ability, and then destroy a Maestro camera that could have been behind those ADSs, right? So in that sense, you are doing your job as a ranged soft breach, right? You could say the same thing for Sophia, but the thing is, Sophia doesn't have those flashes. She has her stuns, yeah, but the thing is, you can use your stuns in a different area to, get an enemy out of a camping spot if you know that he's in a certain location, because those blow up whenever they are near an enemy, so that makes them really interesting and really cool. Nice utility. But in the example of using Ash, use those flashes to burn the ADSs and then destroy the Maestro camera. instead of just running in and expecting the frag out. Because like I said, it's everybody's job to get kills in your team. It's not necessarily like the best idea to just run in the site and get as many kills as possible, because that one Maestro camera can be the difference between, you know, a win and a loss, because they can just use it to spot you. So make sure that you're doing your job, whichever operator you're playing. It doesn't just go for Ashe. I know I'm picking on Ashe mains a lot in this video, but just make sure to do the job that, or fill a role or something like that your operator can do. Tip number 4, another tip that should honestly go without saying, but this tip is to be more coordinated. And what I mean by be more coordinated is, you remember how I was talking about, you know, actually doing your job or playing your role? Well, do that in conjunction with your teammates. If you are able to communicate with your teammates and be a lot more coordinated, like let's say, for example, you know, you're trying to open up Chalet, you've got yourself a Thermite, and you've got yourself an Ashe who has her flashes to burn the ADS, and you've also got yourself like a Capita or a Buck or something along those lines. You want to get into guards. Let's say the enemies are playing guards, you've got your Thermite, and the bandit is currently bandit tricking, right? The things that you can do to get into guards are as follows. If you don't have a Thatcher in this scenario, you could burn the ADS with the flashes using Ashe or her breaching rounds or whatever, and then you could get a Buck player, or someone needs to throw a grenade in to potentially frag the bandit, or you could get a Capitao to shoot a fire arrow in. You have to sort of communicate with your team to organize that, right? You have to tell your teammates to do that, especially if you're solo queuing. If you're not playing at 5-stack, you got to tell your teammates to do that, so then you can, you know, break into guards. And you also have to have somebody watching the window above the Chalet guards, because they can throw a Nitro outside, or they can even run out from the left and also from the right. So you got to be more coordinated. You got to be in tune with your team, recognize what they're doing, recognize where their weaknesses are and your strengths are, and what you can do to help. You don't necessarily have to communicate exactly what you're doing if you already know and you're already a step ahead of the game. Chances are, if you're playing in a coordinated 5-stack, you won't even have to say, oh yeah, I'm going to play Firm and I'm going to go for the guards, because you're already going to know that, right? So you have your Thermite there, you're going to build around your Thermite, you're going to bring your Capital, you're going to bring like Nomad to stop flanks and stuff like that, and then chances are you're going to get that guard open if you're in a competent team. Tip number 5 bounces off of tip number 4. Tip number 5 is to always bring a hard breach, especially if you're solo queuing. If you've noticed that you're playing in a team or you're solo queuing and you haven't brought a hard breach, your chances of winning that round as an attacker goes down so much, because just bringing a hard breach allows you to open up so many different angles and inconvenience the enemy team in so many other ways that you wouldn't be able to inconvenience them had you have not brought a hard breach, right? So if you don't have a hard breach, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. There's honestly no other way around it. If Thermite is banned, or for some reason you can't play Thermite, you play Hibana. And then if you can't play Hibana or Thermite, you play Maverick. The thing is, like, hard breaches are such a necessity, and if you're not playing them, well, you're basically throwing. There's nothing else to it. So make sure you bring a hard breach. There's really no need to ever bring more than 2, and even then, it really depends on the map and depends how coordinated the team that you're playing in is. So I would say general rule of thumb is to bring Thermite for getting those walls open, and then if you're going for hatches, bring Hibana. There's also other crazy angles that you can play with Hibana. Say, for example, Canal, whenever you're trying to take the kayaks or the boat site, there's a pretty crazy angle on main stairs that you can get onto a site with Hibana. So think that way. Just bring a hard breach every single round. Even if you don't think that you're going to be going for like a main hard wall, still bring one anyway, because chances are it's going to help out a lot. Tip number 6 is to place drones in common flank spots. Now, that's going to be a little bit harder for players who are in silver or gold, but honestly, if you master the skill of putting your drones in good positions, then you're probably going to be able to climb your way out of whatever rank that you're stuck in, because 9 times out of 10, Siege is all about putting your enemy in a position where they're at a disadvantage and then killing them that way, rather than taking an insane gunfight, right? So generally, you want to disadvantage your enemy in some way, shape, or form, be that leading them into traps or, you know, damaging them somehow other than shooting them, of course. And then last case scenario, you want to sort of take a fight, right? So you want to inconvenience your enemy somehow, and usually pulling off a nasty flank like all the way around the map as a defender is a pretty good way to go. So if you have somebody watching your drones whenever you're attacking, if you're playing in a team, then, you know, you're going to be able to effectively call out where enemies are flanking from and where they may possibly be coming from. And then as a team, you can talk and then hold these angles that this person may or may not be rotating to, right? And then just kill them. And then there you go. You got one kill up and they're one man down. And then you've got all 5 players alive. Let's assume that it's just one guy running around the map, one roamer, and you kill him. Easy win, right? So in that scenario, awesome. If you're solo queuing, it's all about watching those cameras and having sort of like default cameras, but as an attacker, there's crazy drones that you can get on pretty much every single map. You can get them bar Clubhouse, you can get them watching Fireplace and Chalet, tons of different places that you can put your drones to watch. So many different angles, so many different flank spots. It's worth learning them and then putting your drones in those positions to act sort of as default cameras for you, so you can just push into a room and take it, right? Because if you're able to push into a room and take it as a solo queue player and then just say to your team, hey, like Fireplace is clear, then the rest of your team can run in there and maybe get a frag or two or whatever. But basically, put it this way, you have your drone in there, you know it's clear, you run in, it's yours, implying you play the right angles and you hold the right areas. Tip number 7 kind of bounces off tip number 6, but this one is to bring an operator to lock down areas or flanks. So we're talking like Nomad or also Gridlock, right? So let's say, for example, we're playing on Clubhouse and the defenders are playing in Cache and CCTV. You've got the hard breach open leading into CCTV, and you're able to just run in there as Nomad or Gridlock. What you could do is you could put an air jab or Gridlock's little clusters on the doorway connecting the 2 bomb sites. You can put it on east stairs and you can also put it on catwalk. Now, the enemies aren't going to be able to enter onto the bomb site without hitting either an air jab or losing health to those little Gridlock claws that are on the floor, unless they jump through the window that is on the rooftop, right, leading from construction. So it's pretty much your site if you're playing in a coordinated team, and let's say you get the diffuser down, you're just playing time at that point. You can upside down rappel, watch the runouts from the hard breach, and you pretty much win, right? So just having an operator to cover flanks present, easy win. Like, you're just going to be able to run in, lock down areas, and just not get shot in the back, implying you're playing them right. It all sort of gravitates around you playing these operators right. Tip number 8, and I can't stress this one enough, stop dying to spawn peaks. It's honestly better to waste time in the round than to die to a spawn peak. And that's being honest. The more players that are alive, the higher chance of you winning that round, because the more angles you can hold whenever you get the diffuser down, right? You want to base every single attack around getting the diffuser down and then holding as many angles as possible. It's important that whenever you're playing as an attacker, you have as much health as possible. So even running out and getting damaged by a spawn peak, in my opinion, is very bad and pretty much throwing, right? Because if you're not in the know with all of the common spawn peaks and runouts and stuff like that, you know, you're never going to climb out of your rank that you're stuck in, because everybody is going to abuse those no matter the elo. Let's say you get unlucky and there's a smurf in your lobby, they're just going to abuse the hell out of those spawn peaks and those runouts if you give them the opportunity to. So put yourself in a position to either punish them or make it so that the run out never works, and then they're going to be reluctant to do it again, because if you're able to punish them or they just never get a kill doing it, they're not going to do it again, and they're just going to hunker down on site, and they're going to, you know, they're going to have to run from where they were originally spawn peaking back to the site or wherever safe space that they might want to get to, and then if your team is good enough, they'll be able to rotate and then cut them off and kill them. So, you know, just don't take damage to people who are spawn peaking and running out and stuff like that. Memorize all the spots, the common spots, pre-fire them, put yourself in a position where you can't die to them, and then you will win, like, I want to say 60% more of your ranked games. It's honestly insane the amount of people who die to really obvious spawn peaks. Tip number 9 is to count down enemy gadgets, and this tip can honestly be applied to both attacking and defending, but what I mean by that is to count how many gadgets or uses of a gadget have been used or destroyed during a round. So let's say, for example, we take Kapkan, right? So he's got 5 of his explosives. What you want to do if you're an attacker, you want to, you know, let's say destroy one with a Twitch drone or something, and then call out to the rest of your team like, hey, I destroyed a Kapkan mine, there's 4 left, or something along those lines. And just keep a mental note and make sure that you're communicating with your team how many are left, because if your team know that all of those traps have been destroyed, like let's say frost mats or legion traps or something along those lines, then they're going to be more likely to run in and get some frags or take a fight that they wouldn't have otherwise took if you know, they had a thought that there was a Kapkan mine or something in the way, right? So it can lead to kills. It opens up potential to frag, run into site, take down, or lock down an area if you're playing like Nomad or something like we discussed in tip number 7. So it sort of just opens up that opportunity, being in the know of how many gadgets are still up on the field. Our 10th and final tip is to call out everything. And I don't mean call out everything in a super obnoxious way, like anytime an enemy makes a movement or he peeks or something along those lines. But I mean, like if a hatch is broken open, or you're able to destroy a hard wall if you're playing Thermite, or if you're on a site, if you're planting, stuff like that. Like just communicating with your team whenever an enemy is killed, or like you're able to lock down a site, or you're in a certain area. That information is useful, and it might not seem super apparent to you like in that moment, but like somebody who is on the other end of the map, they have no idea what is going on in your side of the map. So if you're able to communicate to them that somebody might be like backing off because you took a gunfight with them and they're running for, like, let's say archives, for example, if you're playing bank, like you're playing in ATMs, he's in archives, you're able to shoot at him, he starts to run away. If you got another buddy who's playing alley access, they're able to just come in there and then finish off that kill. Perfect. Like you are 5v4 at that point. Your chances of winning the round has just went up tremendously, because you're able to just play trade at that point and then trade off any enemies that, you know, killed your teammates, if you're playing it right, that is. So it just means that you're able to hold more angles basically, which is awesome. So communicating with your team more effectively is basically this tip, but repeat it. But, you know, it's important to make sure that you're actually calling out everything, which operators that you just killed, or which operators are dead, which hard walls are open, which hatches are open, like how many gadgets you destroyed, stuttering a little bit. But all that information is useful, and I am yet to find a team that is able to communicate all of those things effectively without making the voice chat like a clusterfuck, basically. So, you know, just make sure that you're able to do it in a fast, efficient manner, and you're not being obnoxious down the voice chat, because if you're super obnoxious, people aren't going to want to play with you. A little bit harder to do in solo queue, but at that point, you know, like just mute people if they're being assholes. They're still going to be able to hear your callouts anyway. So, like, if they want to be a dickhead to you, just let them be a dickhead. They're probably not going to win most of their games or the game that you're in anyway, because they don't have the right attitude towards the game. But yeah, just call out everything that you can. But with all that being said, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button below. If you want to see more Siege content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.